Welcome to Culture Shock's Americanism Unzipped. I am your Culture Shock's host, Coach Veee from Albany, Oregon on the West Coast. It is a beautiful morning here. I hope you all started your morning on a positive note, whether with a cup of coffee or with a cup of your favorite smoothie. I started my day with a cup of natural, refreshing water. Today we are diving into a world actually of direct interactions and straight talk, a defining aspect, of American culture. This is episode 1, Straight Talk. And in this episode, I will introduce you to Kumar from India, an engineer working in Silicon Valley. We will explore how Kumar's shift from India's nuanced, hierarchical communication style to America's forthright and direct interaction marked a pivotal shift in his personal and professional life. But before we talk about Kumar, let us know about you and your communication preferences first. Send in your thoughts and comments. What matters most to you when it comes to conversation and interaction? You can find me on YouTube, Facebook to begin with. Soon, the podcast will be available on major podcast platforms. Hang on. Meet Emily. She is my podcast partner who works with me on various podcast topics, researches and analyzes and engages with me. She is very well versed in American English. She is so excited to be here. Emily, welcome to the American Unzipped podcast series. It is so nice to have you on the show. We've got a lot to unpack today with our first official deep dive. Welcome in.
Thanks, Coach Veee. I'm really excited to be here. This topic, straight talk, is just so fundamental to understanding American culture, and I think it's something a lot of newcomers find incredibly striking.
I agree. So to kick us off, Emily, could you sort of set the stage for us? What are the core tenets of this direct American communication style from your perspective?
Absolutely. When we talk about communication in the United States, we're really talking about a style that, above all, values honesty, transparency, clarity, directness, and frankness. And, it's not just a preference, it's a deeply ingrained cultural value. We Americans tend to get straight to the point without, a lot of unnecessary detours or preamble or dancing around the subject, really.
So no beating around the bush then. Is that what we are saying, Emily?
Exactly. Think of it this way. From high-stakes boardrooms to really casual coffee shop chats, the expectation is that messages are conveyed very clearly and without much ambiguity. We often say what we mean, and we mean what we say. And this isn't about being rude, it's genuinely about being efficient and clear. We prize clarity because ambiguity can lead to misunderstanding, and in a fast-paced environment like ours, that's just not efficient,
That makes a lot of sense. It sounds like efficiency and clarity are really at the heart of it. But I can imagine this must be quite a cultural adjustment for someone who comes from a background where communication might be more nuanced or perhaps even indirect.
It truly is, Coach Veee. It's a pretty significant shift, and that's why Kumar's story is so compelling.
Yes, he is. Kumar is an engineer in Silicon Valley, and he found himself squarely in an environment where speaking your mind is, the absolute order of the day. Back in India, he navigated through layers of polite suggestions, implied meanings, and often a much more hierarchical approach to conversation. But here in the States, he truly stepped into a world of what he calls refreshing candor.
Refreshing candor. I love that. What are some of the initial observations he made about this difference? I'm curious about the everyday interactions.
Oh, he had so many stories. Kumar often shares his initial bewilderment. He'd find conversations to be strikingly open, even on topics that he was used to being handled with far more delicacy, whether chatting about politics over coffee with new friends or discussing deeply personal beliefs. His American friends just never seemed to hold back. They were unafraid of spirited debates or even forthright feedback. He realized quite quickly that here reticence is far less common than a truly candid exchange of thoughts.
So let's dive into some specific examples that really illustrate this. I think listeners would appreciate hearing the direct contrast.
Absolutely. Take a simple dinner invitation. In India, Kumar might respond, I'm afraid I might not be able to attend the dinner, but I truly appreciate your kind invitation. With a lot of emphasis on the appreciation, kind of regret, right? Whereas his American colleague would directly state, sorry, I can't make it to the dinner, but thanks for inviting me. Just very clear.
That's a stark difference, isn't it? The American response is just, it's a clear no, but still polite. The Indian response carries so much more emotional weight and politeness, you know?
Precisely. Or consider a request to cover a shift. Initially, Kumar would ask, I was wondering if it would be possible for you to do me the favor of covering my shift on Saturday, if that's not inconvenient for you. So many qualifiers, right? Compared to now, where he has learned to just say, can you cover my shift on Saturday?
Much more concise, clearly. It shows how much he's adapted. But does he still find himself falling back into old habits sometimes,
He does. Actually, especially with senior colleagues, he told me he still hesitates and writes, if it suits your schedule, could we consider meeting at around 10 a.m. tomorrow? To his senior colleague. Instead of just asking, let's meet at 10 a.m. tomorrow. There's still that ingrained difference, and it's not just him. His American boss would simply ask, could you send me the report by 5 p.m.? Whereas his boss in India would put it, if it's not too much trouble, would you be so kind as to send me the report by today evening?
These examples, Coach Veee, really highlight the core contrasting approaches. American English tends to be straightforward and concise, emphasizing the message itself, while Indian English generally adopts a more courteous and formal tone, frequently employing those qualifying phrases to express requests or make statements. It's almost like the process of the communication is as important as the content,
That's a great way to put it, Emily. The process versus content. And as Kumar grew more accustomed to this direct way of communication, he really came to value the liberty it brought to his interactions. He realized that being open didn't equate to impoliteness. Rather, it paved the way for a truly honest and effective dialogue. He found that this clarity was kind of a key in untangling misunderstandings and moving forward quickly, whether in casual talks or in more serious deliberations. Let me share a really compelling anecdote from Kumar's experiences in an American classroom. It vividly illustrates this American way of speak your mind, just being open.
I'm intrigued. Classrooms are such microcosms of cultural dynamics, really.
They are. They really are. During one of Kumar's early days in an American classroom, the topic of a heated debate was gun control. Now, in his previous academic experiences in India, classroom interactions were often far more reserved. Students typically listened attentively to the professor and rarely challenged ideas openly,
That's a common observation, actually, in many educational systems globally. The professor is often seen as the absolute authority, which is very different here.
Exactly, but in this American classroom, the atmosphere was completely different. Students engaged in a lively discussion, expressing their opinions freely, and sometimes even passionately. Kumar was initially taken aback by the sheer level of debate and the willingness of his American peers to voice their perspectives openly.
I can see how that would be a shock, like walking into a different kind of intellectual arena, completely.
Oh, for sure. As the discussion on gun control continued, Kumar listened intently to his classmates' arguments. Finally, he mustered the courage to contribute to the dialogue. He carefully articulated his thoughts, acknowledging the cultural differences in his approach to such discussions. He said, "I come from culture where we tend to be more reserved in expressing our opinions, especially on sensitive topics like this. But I find it quite intriguing how open and passionate the discussions are here. It's definitely a cultural adjustment for me. A big one."
That's incredibly insightful of him to articulate that so clearly. And how did his American classmates react?
They appreciated Kumar's perspective and shared their own insights. This exchange not only enriched the discussion, but he also provided Kumar with a valuable lesson in the American way of academic discourse. This classroom experience was a real turning point for Kumar, as he learned that in the United States, it's not just about absorbing knowledge, but actively engaging in the exchange of ideas, even if it meant challenging prevailing opinions. It was a moment of deep cultural learning and adaptation that exemplified the essence of straight talk in academic settings.
That's so powerful. It's not just about what you know, but how you contribute to the collective thinking, even if it means disagreeing respectfully, or having a different point of view.
Precisely. Now, let me share another anecdote from Kumar's experiences, this time from one of his early weekly get-togethers with his colleagues at a local bar, affectionately referred to as Thirsty Thursday. This story further highlights the direct and open nature of American discussions, even on intimate topics like relationships and sexuality.
Thirsty Thursday conversations can certainly go in unexpected directions. That's for sure. Tell me more.
Of course, during one particular Thirsty Thursday gathering, Kumar found himself engaged in a conversation with a group of American colleagues, both male and female, and the bar conversation that evening took an unexpectedly candid turn. The discussion of women's sexual experiences and the importance of female orgasm in relationships.
Wow. Okay. That's definitely a topic that would be handled with extreme discretion in many other cultures, if discussed at all in mixed company,
Absolutely. Kumar was initially quite taken aback by the frankness of his colleagues. In his previous cultural context, such discussions were often considered private and reserved for far more intimate settings, certainly not a casual bar with colleagues. But here he was surrounded by American friends who were openly sharing their thoughts and experiences.
So how did they approach it? Was it like academic or more personal sharing? Just out there.
It was personal sharing, but framed from a perspective of open communication within relationships. One of Kumar's colleagues, Sarah, began the conversation by expressing her view on the subject. She said, "I believe that open communication about sexual preferences and needs is essential in any healthy relationship. It's important for both partners to feel comfortable discussing their desires and ensuring that everyone's needs are met."
That's a very American perspective. The emphasis on direct communication, even in the most intimate areas, which can be a huge cultural hurdle for some.
Exactly. Kumar listened attentively, absorbing the cultural differences in how Americans approached such intimate topics. He soon realized that this openness was not a sign of immodesty or a lack of boundaries, but rather a reflection of the fundamental importance placed on open communication in American relationships. That problems can only be solved if they're openly discussed, As the discussion continued, another colleague, Mike, chimed in, "Absolutely, Sarah. It's all about ensuring that both partners have a fulfilling and enjoyable experience. It's surprising to me when I hear about cultures where these discussions are considered taboo,
I can imagine Kumar feeling a bit shell-shocked at that point.
He was initially, yes, but he told me he began to appreciate the American perspective on open communication in relationships. He also recognized the significance of cultural diversity in shaping attitudes towards such topics. This Thursday gathering was an eye-opening experience for Kumar, illustrating how Americans could be straightforward and unreserved in discussing even the most intimate aspects of life. It was another powerful example of the directness and openness that he encountered in American social interactions, which differed so much from his experiences in India, his own background. Now, moving from casual academic settings, let's shift to the professional sphere. The transition to the American way of communication was not without its challenges for Kumar, especially in the workplace. Emily, how did this directness play out in his professional life? If you can reflect on that day to day?
It was a big one, Coach Veee. He vividly recalls a meeting where his American colleagues openly critiqued his project, pointing out flaws and areas for improvement. Now, this can be quite jarring for someone from a high-context culture, where feedback is often indirect or softened. At first, Kumar was very taken aback by this direct feedback. In India, such candid criticism might have been softened with much more diplomacy, perhaps delivered privately or even implied rather than stated. But in America, it was a clear sign of engagement and a genuine desire for improvement.
So it's not personal, it's about the work and the collective goal for the team.
Precisely. In the American workplace, Kumar quickly realized that direct communication was not just about expressing opinions, it was also about actively participating in discussions and sharing feedback constructively. He had to adapt quickly to this environment to truly thrive in his professional endeavors. His journey in the American workplace was a continuous learning experience. He learned that meetings were often platforms for open dialogue and brainstorming. He observed that colleagues, regardless of their position within the company, whether they were junior or senior, had an equal opportunity to speak their minds. This egalitarian approach to communication was a stark contrast to the hierarchical structure he was accustomed to in India. Very different.
That must have been a fundamental shift in his understanding of professional etiquette, just how things work.
And Kumar also discovered that direct communication in the workplace wasn't just about voicing opinions. It was profoundly about active listening. He realized the importance of being receptive to others' ideas and feedback, which fostered a collaborative work culture. And here's a crucial anecdote from Kumar's experiences in the workplace that highlights the importance of transparent and open communication about strengths, weaknesses, and contributions during negotiations. Something we do a lot here.
Oh, a negotiation story. Those are always interesting to hear.
Indeed. In Kumar's early days at his American workplace, he was tasked with negotiating his annual performance review with his manager, Linda. This was a completely new experience for him, as negotiations in his previous work environment were often more formal and structured, perhaps even a bit less direct in their assessment.
So Linda set the tone for this negotiation right away.
Exactly. During the negotiation, Linda encouraged Kumar to openly discuss his achievements, his strengths, and critically, areas where she believed he could improve. She also shared her observations about his performance, both positive and areas she felt needed development. So Kumar, adopting the American way, said, "I believe I've made significant contributions to the team this year. My project led to a 20% increase in efficiency, and I received positive feedback from colleagues. However, I also recognize that there are areas where I can improve, such as my presentation skills."
That's a very balanced and direct self-assessment, isn't it? A good model?
It is, and Linda appreciated Kumar's openness and willingness to discuss his areas for improvement. She responded by acknowledging his strengths and contributions, but also offering guidance on how he could work on his presentation skills. She said, "Kumar, I value your contributions and your project success is evident. I'm glad you're open to improving your presentation skills. Let's work together to provide you with the resources and training you need to excel in that area. Your willingness to address your weaknesses is a strong point." Really?
That negotiation must have been a significant learning experience for Kumar.
It really was. He realized that in American workplaces, open and transparent communication about strengths, weaknesses, and contributions was not only encouraged, but genuinely expected. It was seen as a way to ensure that both employees and managers were on the same page and were actively working together to improve performance. This approach was a stark contrast to Kumar's previous experiences in India, where discussions about weaknesses were often avoided or handled much more delicately to save face, to maintain harmony. Kumar learned that in the American workplace, addressing weaknesses openly was not a sign of incompetence, but rather a proactive step toward growth and improvement. This lesson in transparent communication was another facet of the straight talk culture that he was adapting to in his multicultural American journey.
And speaking of feedback, Emily, Kumar also learned the importance of receiving constructive criticism, even when it's tough to hear. You know, sometimes we all have difficulty with feedbacks.
Oh, absolutely. One day, Kumar received an email from Linda, his manager, requesting a meeting to discuss his recent project. He felt a mix of anticipation and nervousness as he entered Linda's office. The project had been a significant undertaking, and he wasn't sure what to expect. Linda began the conversation with praise for the aspects of Kumar's work that had gone well. She acknowledged his dedication and the positive impact his project had on the team. Kumar felt a sense of relief hearing the initial compliments. A good start. Linda said, "Kumar, I want to start by saying that your dedication to the project and your attention to detail were commendable. Your efforts significantly improved our workflow."
That's a good way to start feedback, with what went well, I think.
It is. But she didn't stop there, of course. Linda also pointed out areas where Kumar could have handled things differently, offering constructive criticism. Linda added, "That being said, there were instances where communication could have been more efficient, and some team members felt they could have been more involved in certain decisions. It's essential to maintain open communication throughout the project, going forward."
And how did Kumar respond to that direct critique, the constructive part?
Oz. He appreciated Linda's honest feedback, even if it included criticism. He understood that receiving constructive feedback was a part of the growth process in the American workplace. He replied, "Thank you, Linda, for your feedback. I value your input, and I'm committed to improving my communication skills and further involving the team more effectively in future projects."
That's a fantastic example of embracing the straight talk culture, being open to it.
It is. This experience taught Kumar that in the American workplace, receiving feedback, both positive and constructive, was crucial for personal and professional growth. It wasn't seen as a critique of his abilities, but as a genuine opportunity to learn and improve. Kumar realized that embracing feedback was a key aspect of the straight talk culture, where open and honest communication was essential for success. And importantly, he began to actively seek feedback from colleagues and superiors, recognizing that it was a valuable tool for his development. Kumar's willingness to accept and act on feedback became a significant factor in his growth within the company, ultimately contributing to his success in the multicultural American workplace. Which is really what you want.
So beyond the core concept of directness, Kumar also faced other communication challenges that are common for newcomers. Emily, can you elaborate on some of those significant barriers that non-native speakers often encounter in their journey here?
Absolutely, Coach Veee. To navigate these challenges, Kumar realized the importance of cross-cultural communication training. He learned to adapt his communication style, blending his Indian cultural identity with the directness expected in American professional settings. He became skilled at reading between the lines and understanding the subtext of conversations. He also recognized the value of asking clarifying questions when something was not clear, which is another hallmark of American communication, seeking clarity. His experiences taught him that effective communication was not just about words, but also about empathy and linguistic and cultural awareness. And you hit on some of the big ones for non-native speakers: slang and jargon, the pace of speech, sensitivity to the subject per conversational settings, and of course, humor and sarcasm. These are all really crucial.
Let's tackle slang and jargon first. That can be a minefield, even for native speakers sometimes, depending on the industry or group. Wouldn't you say so?
It really can. Kumar had always prided himself on his proficiency in English. He had studied the language extensively and had an excellent grasp of grammar and vocabulary. However, he quickly realized that fluency in American English went far beyond the formalities of grammar and the words in the dictionary. One evening, Kumar found himself at a casual gathering with his American colleagues. They were discussing their weekend plans, and the conversation was literally peppered with slang and idiomatic expressions that left Kumar feeling completely like an outsider, on the fringes.
Yeah, like decoding a secret language. I bet that must have been quite a feeling.
Exactly. His colleague, Sarah, turned to him and asked, "Hey Kumar, are you up for hitting the town this weekend? We're planning to check out some cool spots." Kumar nodded, trying to hide his confusion. "Sure, that sounds great," he replied. But inside, he was probably wondering what hitting the town actually meant. As the evening went on, he heard phrases like buckle up, hang out, and go all out. These expressions weren't entirely unfamiliar in theory, but their natural rapid-fire usage in casual conversation was truly throwing him off, catching him off guard.
How did he overcome that? He couldn't just keep nodding indefinitely.
No, he couldn't. Determined to bridge this linguistic gap, Kumar decided to take matters into his own hands. He spent his evenings researching American slang and jargon, diving into the colorful world of expressions that peppered everyday conversation. A week later, another gathering took place. This time, Kumar was ready. When Sarah asked if he was up for hitting the town, he replied with a confident smile, "Absolutely, count me in for a night of fun."
That must have been a great moment for him, a real breakthrough.
It was met with cheers and laughter from the group. Kumar had not only understood the slang, but had embraced it, using it naturally in conversation. It was a small victory, but it marked a significant step in his journey to overcome those particular communication barriers. As the weeks went by, Kumar continued to expand his repertoire. He discovered that using these expressions not only facilitated smoother communication, but also helped build trust and camaraderie with his American colleagues. They appreciated his efforts to fit in turn, they became more open to understanding his perspective and background. Kumar's experience taught him that language was not just about words, it was about cultural expression and connection. By mastering American slang and jargon, he had unlocked a new level of communication, one that transcended formal language barriers and allowed him to connect with his colleagues on a deeper level.
That's a beautiful way to put it, Emily. Bridges to connection. What about the pace of speech? That's another common hurdle for many.
It certainly is. Kumar was eager to excel in his studies and had enrolled in a linguistics course at his American university. The subject matter was fascinating, and he looked forward to each class. However, there was one significant challenge that he had not anticipated: the sheer speed at which his professor spoke. In one course, Professor Davis launched into an engaging lecture about syntax and semantics. As soon as he began, Kumar's heart sank. The professor's words seemed to flow like a rapid river, and Kumar found himself genuinely struggling to keep up, to process it all in real time, almost losing the thread.
That sounds incredibly frustrating, especially when you're trying to learn complex material like linguistics.
His classmate, Emily, no relation to me, but also named Emily, noticed his furrowed brow and leaned over to whisper, "Don't worry, Kumar, you'll get used to Professor Davis's speed eventually." But Kumar wasn't content to just get used to it. Determined not to be defeated by this linguistic hurdle, he decided to take matters into his own hands. He invested in a voice recorder and started recording every lecture. He reasoned that if he couldn't keep up with the professor's pace in real time, he could at least revisit the lectures at his own speed later, when he had time to process.
That's really proactive or a smart one. Smart move.
Very. One afternoon, as Professor Davis delved into the intricacies of syntactic processes, Kumar diligently recorded the lecture. He knew that this was a crucial step in overcoming the challenge of rapid speech, to really nail it.
And the result, Emily?
Over time, Kumar's efforts bore fruit. He found that he could not only follow Professor Davis's rapid speech, but could also engage in meaningful discussions during class. His recording device had become his invaluable ally in deciphering the linguistic intricacies of his professor's lectures. Another day, during a class discussion, Kumar confidently chimed in with an insightful comment about semantics. Professor Davis nodded in approval, and his classmates looked impressed. Kumar had not only conquered the pace of speech, but had also emerged as a valuable contributor to the class. This experience taught Kumar that overcoming communication barriers often required creative solutions and sheer perseverance. By using recording devices and dedicated self-study, he had transformed a linguistic challenge into a valuable learning opportunity, making him more adept at navigating the intricacies of American academic discourse, which is huge for his studies.
So Kumar's getting the hang of things, which is great, but then there's the nuance of sensitivity to subject matter in different conversational settings. That's a big one, isn't it, Emily? For anyone learning a new culture and language.
Oh, it's huge. Kumar was well into his American journey, but there was one aspect of communication that continued to puzzle him: the varying levels of sensitivity to certain topics in different conversational settings. He had observed this stark difference between formal academic research gatherings and casual hangouts with locals. A real dichotomy.
Can you give us an example of this contrast? to really illustrate this in this case?
Certainly. Still, another day, Kumar attended a linguistics research seminar at his university. The topic of discussion was the use of regional dialects and their impact on cultural identity. As the speakers presented their findings, Kumar noticed that the atmosphere was very serious and academic. People asked probing questions, challenging each other's theories, and discussing linguistic concepts with great intensity, focusing strictly on empirical evidence and academic rigor. Very formal.
Sounds like a very focused intellectual environment, quite intense.
It was. During the Q&A session, Kumar raised his hand and asked, "How do you think the preservation of regional dialects affects the perception of cultural diversity in the United States?" Now, in his mind, it was a perfectly valid and academic question. The room fell silent for a moment, and the panel of researchers exchanged glances. They seemed taken aback by Kumar's question, almost as if he had stepped slightly outside the expected academic framework. Perhaps too broad. One of them, Dr. Roberts, responded, "That's an interesting point, Kumar. It's a complex issue, and there are various perspectives on it." Kumar felt a bit uncomfortable, sensing that he might have broached a sensitive topic in this particular academic setting, perhaps one that veered too much into social commentary rather than purely linguistic analysis. The discussion moved on, but he couldn't help but feel that his question had disrupted the flow of the seminar, a little bit.
And how did that contrast with this casual interactions in his social life play?
Later that week, Kumar decided to meet up with some local friends at their favorite hangout spot, that cozy bar called Thirsty Thursday again. The atmosphere here was entirely different from the research seminar. Laughter and chatter filled the air as people enjoyed drinks and snacks. As Kumar sipped his beer and joined in the conversation, he noticed that the topics were lighthearted and often humorous. People talked about everything from movies to sports to their personal lives. The vibe was relaxed, and no one seemed to mind cracking jokes and poking fun at each other. During this lively banter, someone mentioned regional accents, and the group erupted into playful imitations of different accents. Kumar couldn't help but laugh along. It was a stark contrast to the seriousness of the research seminar. Truly night and day.
So he learned to read the room, I guess is the phrase, right?
Exactly. Kumar realized that in different conversational settings, the sensitivity of the audience to certain topics could vary significantly. In academic circles, people often approach topics with caution as they were concerned about presenting well-researched and balanced perspectives. In contrast, informal gatherings allowed for more spontaneity and humor, even on topics that might be considered sensitive in other contexts. Just more relaxed. This experience taught Kumar the paramount importance of reading the room and adapting his communication style to the sensitivity and expectations of the audience. Whether in a formal research seminar or a casual hangout, understanding the context and the people involved was absolutely key to successful communication in American culture as much as in any other culture, really.
And finally, Emily, let's talk about humor and sarcasm. These can be really tricky for non-native speakers, to get the nuances.
They are. Kumar had become quite adept at navigating the intricacies of American communication, but this was one aspect that had him puzzled for a while. He realized that Americans often use these elements to convey messages and build rapport, and he really needed to understand them better, to connect. One day, Kumar found himself in a situation where humor and sarcasm were front and center. He was having lunch with his colleagues from the office, including his friend Sarah, who had a particularly sharp wit.
Oh, yeah. Sarah again, she seems to be a good guide for Kumar.
She is. As they sat in the office cafeteria discussing their weekend plans, Sarah turned to Kumar and said, "Hey Kumar, you should definitely come with us on our hiking trip this weekend. It's gonna be a real blast." Kumar, who had never been much of a hiker, hesitated for a moment. He replied, "Well, I appreciate the invitation, but I'm not sure if hiking is my thing. I might slow you guys down." Sarah burst into laughter, and the rest of the group joined in. "Kumar, you're too modest," she said with a playful grin. "We'll carry you up the mountain if we have to."
That is so classic. It's like an invitation wrapped in a friendly jab. A teasing way.
It is. Kumar realized that Sarah's response was laced with sarcasm, and it was all in good fun. He chuckled along with the group and said, "All right then, just make sure you have a sturdy backpack." The lunchtime banter was just the beginning. A few days later, during a team meeting, his manager, Mike, used sarcasm to diffuse a tense moment. When a technical glitch caused frustration among the team, Mike quipped, "Well, folks, it seems like our computers are staging a revolt today. Maybe they want a day off too."
That's a perfect example of using humor to lighten the mood in a stressful situation.
Exactly. The team chuckled and the tension eased. Kumar realized that humor and sarcasm could be powerful tools in the workplace, helping to break the ice and lighten serious situations. Over time, Kumar became more comfortable with these elements of American communication. He learned to recognize when humor or sarcasm was being used, and he even began to use them himself in appropriate contexts. It was all part of the art of straight talk in American culture, sometimes saying one thing but meaning another, all in good spirits, for connection. He understood that humor and sarcasm were not meant to deceive or offend, but rather to create a relaxed and friendly atmosphere. They were tools to connect with others, share a laugh, and build stronger relationships. Kumar discovered that humor and sarcasm were not just confined to casual conversations. They played a vital role in negotiations, team dynamics, and even in addressing sensitive topics. They allowed people to communicate more openly and honestly, often diffusing tension and making discussions more productive. In essence, Kumar had truly unlocked the power of humor and sarcasm as key components of communication and understanding the very nuances of American English. They weren't barriers to understanding, they were bridges to connection, diffusing tension, and enhancing overall communication in various contexts, and building deeper relationships with his American colleagues and friends, which is really what you want in a new country.
That's a powerful transformation over time. Kumar not only adapted to the American style of communication, but also became proficient in it. Emily, how did this directness ultimately lay a foundation of trust for him, in all his interactions?
That's the beautiful part, Coach Veee. He understood that in this directness lay a genuine foundation of trust. Being candid, honest, and transparent were the absolute pillars of effective communication in this culture. His colleagues really appreciated his willingness to engage openly and quickly began to see him as a highly trusted collaborator. Kumar's experiences in the workplace showed him that direct communication was not about rudeness or bluntness, but about clarity. It was about ensuring that everyone was on the same page, that expectations were crystal clear, and that progress was monitored with absolute transparency, always.
So it's about building a solid, unambiguous relationship, both professionally and personally. Clear lines.
Precisely. Kumar's ability to communicate openly and honestly not only improved his relationships, but also significantly contributed to his professional success. He learned that trust was the true currency of effective communication in America. Colleagues valued his directness, and it became a cornerstone of his professional identity. And his journey into American culture even took him to unexpected places, including interactions with local law enforcement and community services, where he further discovered the profound value of trust and transparency in American communication, which is really important for everyday life.
Tell us about one of those unexpected interactions, Emily, that you observed.
One sunny afternoon, Kumar had an encounter with a police officer while driving. He had unintentionally exceeded the speed limit, and the flashing red lights in his rearview mirror were a clear testament to his mistake. As the officer approached his car, Kumar knew he had to navigate the situation carefully. Officer Smith, with a friendly smile, said, "Good afternoon, sir. I noticed you were going a bit fast back there. Can I see your driver's license and registration, please?"
That's a powerful lesson in a real-world application of directness. And what about his involvement in community services? How did that illustrate it?
His involvement there further emphasized the importance of directness and transparency. He volunteered at a local shelter, where he often interacted with people facing difficult circumstances. During one conversation with a shelter resident named Mary, Kumar asked, "Mary, how can we better support you and the others here?" Mary, appreciating Kumar's sincerity and directness, replied, "Well, Kumar, it would be great if we had more access to job training programs. That would help us get back on our feet, really help us out."
And that direct feedback led to action, I presume. Right, Emily?
It did. Kumar shared Mary's feedback with the shelter staff, and they implemented a job training program shortly after. The residents deeply appreciated the transparency in the communication and the concrete action taken to address their needs. It made a real difference. In both these situations, with the police officer and at the shelter, Kumar learned that Americans value direct and transparent communication, especially when dealing with issues or challenges. This approach fosters trust and empathy, allowing for open dialogue and effective problem solving.
So it became clear to him that trust wasn't just one-way street with directness.
Absolutely not. Trust was a mutual exchange. By being open and honest, Kumar found that he was also trusted by others, whether it was a police officer or individuals in need of assistance. These anecdotes truly showcase how trust and transparency are fundamental in American communication, helping to navigate various social contexts. Openness and honesty create connections, resolve issues, and drive positive change, which is really the power of it.
Kumar's journey of embracing straight talk in America was profoundly transformative for him. He evolved from someone who initially struggled to understand his American colleagues to becoming a truly proficient communicator in both personal and professional settings. His experiences with Speak Your Mind, adapting to workplace communication, overcoming linguistic barriers, and building trust through directness all contributed to successful acculturation and his recognition of the power of direct communication in America.
And that's the takeaway here, Coach Veee. Direct communication in America is far more than just a communication style. It's a deeply rooted cultural value that emphasizes honesty and clarity. It's a powerful tool for building trust, fostering open dialogue, and ultimately achieving mutual understanding. As we move forward in this series, remember Kumar's journey as a testament to the transformative power of direct communication in America for anyone new to the culture.
What a fantastic conversation, Emily. Thank you for walking us through Kumar's incredible journey. Want to hear more about American culture and culture shocks in general? We have only just scratched the surface. Join us next time for Wheels of Freedom. Yes, America is a passionate love affair with cars, mirrors a broader cultural value, freedom. You will all find it here in Culture Shocks, Americanism Unzipped. And please, if this episode resonated with you, share it with someone who has ever cared about a culture shock. Because culture shock isn't just about what we experience alone, it's what we share with others as well.